This is Rod White for Mining Journal, and I have the pleasure today of introducing Fred Bell, who's the Chief Executive of Elemental Altus, which is a royalty company. But it's the royalty model that I think is of most interest to investors because it avoids the development risk of projects. So why did you go into royalties?
Thank you for having me, Rod. It's an excellent question. I think the key experience I had, formative experience early on in my career, was being involved actually with exploration projects and junior exploration companies, and seeing up close and personal the risk, the timelines. We're seeing in current environment inflation creeping in everywhere from exploration costs, running costs, through to feasibility studies and construction and capex costs. And I think from the perspective I was coming at, with a royalty business model, you can get cash flowing assets earlier than any other sort of almost part of the mining industry, and you can have diversified cash flow. You can get all the best parts, the optionality, the cream on the cake, but you can avoid a lot of the pitfalls and a lot of the risks involved in taking a project nowadays, all the way from early exploration through to construction.
So you were running away from exploration companies, and you had people that were prepared to back your idea of putting royalties together.
Yes, and the thing I loved about exploration was the discovery potential and the optionality. And you can actually really encapsulate that into royalties, where we now have today royalties over 11 producing assets globally, and we have royalties over about 90 assets in total. So we have a huge portfolio, bigger than you can ever have,
And
actually.
you got cash flow.
And we have cash flow as a explorer or developer. But exactly as you said, alongside all that exploration optionality, we have diversified cash flow sooner than we ever could otherwise. And in the sub-billion-dollar royalty space, we have the highest revenue. We have the most number of producing royalties. We have credit facilities now with two of the largest banks, National and CIBC. So it puts us in a really unique position in the royalty space in order to be able to really grow from the size we're at.
But what's interesting about the value proposition with Elemental is that your market capitalization is, what, 250 million at the moment?
Canadian,
And yes,
thereabouts.
Canadian. And your net asset value is about 275 million Canadian. So you're at a discount to net asset value, but you've got 11 producing royalties. And you've also got quite a significant portfolio of exploration projects which are advancing.
Yeah, and look, I think that's the reason we have a shareholder base that is predominantly institutional. And we have, I think, 70% of the company is management or institutional shareholders, which for a company our size is unusual. And I think that is a reflection of the quality of the underlying assets, the nature of the portfolio being mostly producing and cash flow positive, the track record in having built this from scratch all the way through. I think all of those come together. And as it stands today, we offer really low risk, I think de-risked in many regards, growth in a royalty company with producing royalties, cash flow positive from day one.
But you've got quite significant assets in Africa relative to the other royalty companies, and those interests in Egypt and in Mali could be almost transformational. They could add significant value.
And I think this is some of the latent value in the portfolio that people don't see on the surface. And that is a large 670,000 ounce gold project in Mali. It is the fourth largest license package in Egypt after Barrick, B2 and Centamin. And this almost, in the company, it almost takes a backstage. But I think what we'll be able to do is over the coming months and over the course of this year, we'll be able to really realize some of the latent value in the portfolio amongst those assets that we don't get credit for today.
That would be by creating additional royalties or by joint venture or by sale.
Absolutely.
So there's several levels of upside for Elemental shareholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Rod.